I am Arvind Tiwary, Chair of IoT Forum at TAI, Bangalore, and over the next 25 minutes, I will walk you through the vision for scaling up the IoT system. As you will see when we announce the 2017 edition of the IoT Startup Directory, we have robust growth. And we are now at the end of the beginning. We have a system where IoT startups have taken root. Now we have to change our trajectory and organize to make it scale up. We are unveiling a platform to help make this happen. And this is something which is an enabler. The journey is with all of us, you and we. We have to make it happen. And that's the platform we are going to unveil. TAI Bangalore has been active over more than a decade. We run more than 90 events in a year. That is two a week. That's quite active. IoT Next, of course, is one of our flagship events. We run it with ISA, and we will talk about it a little later. Leapfrog is one of my popular ones. We don't do leapfrogs every year, but the last time we did it, you might have heard of Nandan Nilankani talk about the WhatsApp-like movement in financial sector. It's happened a lot faster than we thought. But that's the nature of the beast. Disruption may be happening much faster than you think. Antaprerna is another event. It's slightly different than other ones. This is about the inner joy, the inner drive to achieve a purpose or do something. We have been running it for many years. It's very successful. Elevate is a fantastic project that we did for the government of Karnataka, where they used our help to select from around 1,600 applicants, 100 winners, and they gave them some money. It's not a loan, it's not even equity, it's a pure grant. How cool can that be? IoT Forum has been in existence for about 3 years. It's a special interest group at TAI, and we have done we have done 36 events. 3,300 people have been touched, and 420 startups are engaged. It's a very successful partnership with ISA. This event itself, IoT Next, is the third edition between ISA and IoT Forum. NABARD has been very helpful for us. We picked up agri-tech as an area where we wanted to do some work, and that has been very helpful. The CISO platform is engaged with us in security, and we will talk about this. But it's not just about big events. We do fairly hands-on, small workshops, 12 to 25 people, Contiki, MEMS. We also do a lot of business case, and IEEE has been helpful. We did a leveraging use cases to validate IoT opportunities with. We have a website, www.iotforindia.org. There is a beta version up there, but we'll be switching over to a new version, which is the platform we want to talk about. IoT Next is, of course, the marquee IoT event. I don't know how many of you are aware, but over the last 6 months, I have been at 8 IoT events in Bangalore alone, forget India. So it's a hype. It's a lot of things are happening. But IoT Next tends to be different, and we want it to be the place where you all go when you need genuine clarity. This is not about Gyan from the West, which does not work. You can ask a lot of startups about Wi-Fi grief. One of the largest smart home company in India, startup, they don't use Wi-Fi, they use wired. And the reason is Wi-Fi doesn't work once crowds and densities and cement walls, etc. come into place. So we are about practical hands-on thing, India appropriate, and we talk about things which will work here, not the GAN from the West, which doesn't even work in the West most of the time. We also are a little bit forward thinking. So IoT Next 2015, we were the first place where iSpirit Sharad Sharma and his gang unveiled the India stack. It was a magical evening. We also, 2016, we went deep into Agri Next. We have a whole half a day. We had business case, etc. It was very well appreciated. And that's because Agri is a constrained thing. I mean, technology in Agri is all about genetics, but a lot can be done by precision farming, and we have learned a lot. And this year we are choosing security. Now, security is a world-class problem. IoT security, you have heard it all over. We are going to be an internet of hacks. And it's a problem which we can solve for ourselves, and our startups, if they solve it, can be the world's best. And this is something doable because it's about software and analytics and network surveillance, and therefore we are choosing security. We are launching a new approach. Actually, we intend it to be a new standard. We are in discussion with IEEE and other places to make it a new standard, which is around fresh thinking, and we will launch it tomorrow. Please come over and give us help. We started in 2014 and we started an assistance scheme. The assistance scheme was not about VC and manufacturing, etc., but it was about discovering what stops our dreamers. India is a large country. Even in IoT hardware, even if it's only 1% of the engineers, we still have a large number. So what stops our dreamers from dreaming and making things happen? And we learned a lot. There are lots of issues, but many of them are going away. We now have a few hardware incubators. IoT CO is here, IKP Eden is there, and the corporate guys have also, all of them have strong IoT focus, Microsoft Ventures, Qualcomm, Intel. So this problem is going away. We selected a bunch, 26, and Cardiac Design, for example, was the winner at Google Launchpad Startup Saturday, which Prime Minister Modi gave the awards. A 36% success rate is pretty good, and we hope to continue that with the IoT awards that we will be announcing tonight. Spectrum is an important issue, and actually a call drop nation will not have IoT if we do not address spectrum. So early on, we recommended to the government and try to create a dedicated sub-gigahertz spectrum for IoT. We were laughed when we initially proposed it, but I am glad to say that there is some movement, 3 years, still not done, but there is a recommendation to give more spectrum for IoT. LP1 is where we had our most challenge, because many of you may not realize 2G, 3G, 4G and Wi-Fi are completely inappropriate for India. We will not have the money, time, or the ability to run smart cities on these technologies. If you take the city of Mumbai, and if we use 3G and Wi-Fi, we will need 200 megawatt for the 7 applications: streetlights, parking, water, energy. 200 megawatts. You think the municipality in Mumbai will pay? You think the Dharavi residents, etc., are going to pay for that? They will not. Plus, these things take too much time to roll out. If I were to roll out in Bangalore, if I use an LP1 technology, we just need 200 base stations. You can roll out in 3 months. If you were to do 3G, LP1 and call drop nation being what we are, you're talking 2.5 to 3 years, and the cost will be a lot more. I am glad to say that while we met a lot of resistance in the beginning, and that's the pain of being a thought leader, you get laughed off, you're considered mad quite often. We have now persuaded the Ministry of Urban Development to allow cities to use unlicensed spectrum, LP-WAN, for smart city applications. TRI, of course, still doesn't agree, but that's their problem. The country has to get on with its job. And 6 smart cities have opted for LP1. Kakinada is the first place where it is being implemented. Agri-tech, as I said, we spent a lot of effort, and it's a business model issue. The farmer is not going to pay. It has to be someone else. He's used to the government or somebody doing subsidies. IoT platforms is about the hourglass architecture, which is very popular with Aadhaar, where you decouple the south side, which is the devices, from the north side, which is the applications. And therefore, you don't have to build the whole 9 yards, but you have to build something smaller. As Ravi Gururaj mentioned earlier, IoT is hard. You end up doing everything. You do the hardware, you do the device management, you do cloud application, a SaaS, then you have to do a smartphone application, then you have to put in analytics and AI. I mean, it's not just 9 yards, it's 12 yards. So you have to simplify, and IoT platforms is one way of doing it. The IoT Startup Directory, which we are maintaining, is an unusual thing, and we will talk about it. But I would like at this stage to invite Shri Priyank Khage, the Honorable Minister of IT/BT, Shri Ashwini Agrawal, Chairman of ISA, Shri Ravi Gururaj, President of TAI, and Shri Naganand, ex-President of TAI Bengaluru and a partner with Idea Springs. We have grown from 420 to 980 plus startups. It's 100% growth, and Bangalore has had a 55% growth. Of course, Part of it may be because Bangalore is anyway a hub of startups, and GOK has also invested. So you have an IoT COE, you had Elevate, and there is a data science COE being set up. But I would like to say that some amount of the credit is with IoT Forum, and we have helped make this happen. There is a list of startups by city. So Bangalore startups are listed there separately, and I would request Shri Khargeji to take a look at it, and please reach out to us. You guys have been doing your job. I mean, GOK has done a lot. So it's now time for us startups to make a difference to Bangalore and Karnataka. So I hope the directory gives you some ideas and we can come to the party. So 2014, we had around 128 startups. 2015, we grew to 263. 2016, it's about 420, 980, 100% growth. It's not just here. There used to be a Facebook group called IoT BLR. It's now shut down. Nihal and his group have mutated towards applied singularity. That had 18,000 members. And I don't know how many of you are aware of Bangalore Makerspace and Open Source Creativity. It's run by this firebrand lady, Kavita Arora. She does all sorts of things, but that is probably Asia's largest at 20,000 members. And it's about hardware, makerspace, and creativity. All right. And it's not just this. Even my LinkedIn group, I have 99,000 members. I mean, come on, this is a crowd. What happens when you get a crowd? Noise. You know, I used to joke that India runs on WhatsApp and chai. I think I need to modify it. India runs on WhatsApp and chai and smiles on WhatsApp forward. These forwards, how creative. And they will do Amul proud, butterly proud. And you get it from one group, and after a few minutes or sometimes a whole day, you will get it from another group. And if you see the pattern of the forwards, you could figure out who's a bhakt and who's not a bhakt, who's a lefty, who's a righty, and who thinks Virat Kohli is much better than Sachin Tendulkar. And those are very ferocious debates, but they are very temptuous and they are short term. There is not much of an engagement for long term, which is where my problem is, and we will talk about it. If you see this Facebook group, there is a recommendation here for a certain supplier in a certain city, but it will not last here because the forwards, there will be 30, 40 by the end of the day. Within 3 days, there will be 300 other things in the timeline. You won't find it. There are lots of ads. LinkedIn, those guys are the market research guys have figured out how to do clickbait. It looks like an interesting article. Much later, you find out you have to pay for it, and you lose insight. So a startup which is doing a self-service kiosk, and this is an Indian one, and IEEE which is doing this, you won't discover it. There's too much noise. And it's not just noise. You can't discover interesting stuff, important stuff. 2015 when I started my 2014 when I started my journey of I was a software guy, so I started. So I attended a lot of maker groups, hardware labs. There was an Alpha Labs in JP Nagar. Nihal Kashina was just starting his meetup Facebook group IoT BLR, and we had a lot of fun projects. And one of the things that kept happening is where do I go for this? Who can help design this? So resources. So they had an Excel sheet of resources, the startups, accelerators, etc. And I knew it is there. So when we had to start doing our IoT Startup Directory, I wanted to reach out to that group, and we couldn't find it. It took me some effort. There's no pinned post, and unfortunately, it's not being maintained by the community. I guess the community can't find it. So that's unfortunate. And we know that the IoT Startup Directory takes a lot of effort. It's a labor of love to maintain these directories. And it's important for the community to pull in and make that happen. So we have to rethink, how do we go from a cozy chai shop where we sit and gossip to a national stage? How do we get tribal knowledge, which is there among some people, out to the audience? How do we increase the pipeline? So we have some very good incubators. You have Microsoft Research, Qualcomm, Intel, IKPI to COE, Target, Walmart's, all of them are here. And some of those startups are pretty good. I mean, but we have to increase from 5% to 20% of the pipeline should be good. And there's a lot of activity happening with Atal Lab, Tinkering Labs at colleges, etc., tier 2, tier 3. They all have to improve. How do you do that? And this is where we have to step back and look at a model which will provide a platform and scale. Now, one of the problems is we have a lot of discussions which start at basement level and never get beyond that. So many times I have lost my cool when people keep talking about Cisco has done it or IBM has doing this, etc. Guys, cut the crap. Go to Electronic City. 500 meters smart city. Go and find out what is there. It's not there. Not a single smart city in the world has all the applications. IoT is a graveyard of promises, but not enough realism because too much hype, too much old technology repackaged and uncritically applied. Not gonna go anywhere. You can't take a truck and try to do where you need a two-wheeler. You have to be more agile, more faster, more differently. There are many times when I've had a discussion once about Li-Fi being a solution to IoT. Come on, Wi-Fi, high bandwidth, 10, 20, 30 gigabits per second, no problem. But the LED light needs to have line of sight to the LED light. If it is obscured, if there is a person standing, if there's a wall, it doesn't work. And it only works over short distances. Is that the problem in IoT? Our problem is that we have a smart meter which is in the basement and I need it to read out from a road while my vehicle is passing. I have a 200, 300 meters, two cement walls, probably a steel case. So our problems are range and reach, not bandwidth. So this basement level problem has to be solved. We have to start from the second floor and then build on to the sixth floor. How do you do that? And the best way to do that is the Wikipedia model. Wikipedia is a enormously successful scaled out model of the wisdom of the crowd. So we are launching an IoT wiki. This will help us capture alternative ideas, question the received wisdom, and help make sure we start on the second floor. No more basement level talk. On the role of contrarian thinking, I am fairly well known to be a contrarian. So let me talk about some of the things that people drop off when they hear it. First, IoT. Now, IoT is defined by many people as Internet of Things, but we say Internet. It's a smart connected device, and connectivity is optional. People say, "Come on, it's the Internet of Things. My God, Internet must be necessary." And we say, "No, what is the purpose of a definition? To help us think. Now, we want to create employment, disruption, a new economy which does. So, we need devices which can do smart things. A drone which can descend down the funnel of a steel chimney. And while it descends into the channel, it need not have connectivity. It probably may not have because of the encased Faraday cage that it gets into. So it should operate semi-autonomously. And similarly, a robot which can go into a mine and do some inspection. They may not need connectivity during operation. A diagnostic machine may be able to make a decision about a person and it can upload the data or it can receive calibration data or instructions for a job. But during operation, it need not be connected. So connectivity is optional. The second thing, money is the wrong question. Many times VCs, corporate guys ask me, so Arvind, IoT Forum, now you guys have so many startups. Where is the money to be made? Wrong question. In India, at the right price point, at the right set of features, anything can sell for millions. And WhatsApp is a very good example. And Facebook was a brilliant guy in choosing WhatsApp, but you have to figure out how to make money out of it. Freemium may be a model you may want to think about. So it's more about value engineering and a sharp eye on what is fat. Similarly, security. It is a world-class problem. All the international standard bodies are completely lost. They propound all these theories. They are emperor without clothes because none of the standards work. None of those devices, everybody is hacked. Namam mein sabhi nange hain. So we are partnering on a fresh thinking, a new way to think about security so that you can really protect yourself and you really create startups which will solve the country's problem and can also solve the world's problem. We can have large successful startups in security. It's about software, it's about AI, it's about network surveillance. These are strengths that India has. Moving towards regulation. Now, unfortunately, TRAI, which is a telecom regulator, is trying to regulate IoT, and that's a slight problem. Now, TRAI itself is a very good process. They have this consultative process, they develop, they hear back, and it's well run. That's not, the process is not the problem. The problem is the structure. It's telecom guys running it. So anyway, many of you may not realize, if you are doing automotive, fleet, water, if you're doing any of these IoT applications, you need to register with TRAN. That's the proposed registration. You need to pay 10 lakhs and you need to follow certain services, SIM-based key, or you are another service provider license and all that. So if you don't realize this, this is a lot of work. Now, apart from being telecom driven, there is another problem there, that they're driven by a monoculture. So if you are a farmer, if you do cash crop only, everybody will tell you, you should diversify, you should do other crops, because the cash crop may not have a good price when you get to market, or the pestilence, etc. But in spectrum, the telco guys only want voice and video. They don't want IoT. They want licensed resources. They don't even want unlicensed resources which are currently available for IoT to be left free. There's a lot of pressure on TRAI to reuse it. So when we propose to TRAI, you reform 2G. So 2G is being removed. So the 2G spectrum is available. Instead of again giving it for voice and video, make it cheaper. Instead of 10,000 crores to a megahertz, which is the voice video rate, give it for 1,000, 2,000 crore megahertz and give it for IoT. This will allow call drop notion to coexist with an IoT nation. It will allow innovation. It is a cheaper price point. Telemedicine and other things cannot happen at those price points. Anyway, so we hope we will get heard. But the important thing I would like to suggest to you is that we must think of regulation India first. If you go to CI, NASCOM, they are run by companies, and companies have different objectives, and many of them are MNCs, and they have slightly different objectives. To give you a concrete example of the India first problem, there was an advice sought on whether the data Facebook, Google, etc. are keeping should be in India or outside. Now, the Cloud Innovation Council of India, which is the body which is involved in this, and they do a lot of good work, Meghraj and all that, and I have a lot of friends there. They couldn't make a recommendation. And it's no surprise. You have Facebook, you have Google, you have Amazon there. You think they will come and recommend that, no, you should not allow them to keep the data outside? Not happening. So India first regulation will not happen through this structure. So we at IoT Forum, we are creating a separate forum for regulation. It is for individuals who are concerned at the India first being lost, who have the knowledge, expertise and time to help us. Come and join us. Help us formulate position papers. Help us formulate the question public policy in a manner that TRAI will engage. And TRAI will engage. So we recently had some discussions on this regulation. They want to test every device. Now that is a little overkill. It's going back to the old Raj days when the modems had to be imported and tested by SQ2C in Delhi. So we said, look, every driver doesn't have to be tested. Only the guys who are driving hazardous stuff need some regulation. So can we have an effective way of doing regulation? And I think if we engage, we will get there. Fundamental tension is the earth is telecom or IoT. The TRAI and the telecom things, telecom is the sun and the IoT is a small appendage called earth. We think IoT is about applications and value. It is the sun, it is the whole economy actually, and telecom is a small 15% part of it. And that tension needs to be managed and we need your help. So the goal of IoT Forum is to raise the IoT quotient of India through India appropriate technology. And we question the received wisdom because that's how we will create value. How do we do it? So we have this web platform. We will do lots of meetups, handout, trainings, on-site we run workshops, but the important part is knowledge discovery portal, where we separate out the high velocity things, which is the news, the WhatsApp forwards, and it's news. Then we have an announcements forum, which is about community skills. So if you are a startup, you are a freelancer, if you are an industrial designer, announce your skills and let the community discover. So announcements will be less in number and will stay there longer, and we will make it easy to discover. So you can discover skills, you can discover people who can help you develop the products and the ideas you want. And discussion is where we really think good insights will bubble up. And this will be a separate thing. You can take anything in the announcements or the news and link it up and make discussions. And to give a concrete example, let's talk about blockchain. Everybody is telling me blockchain and IoT are made in heaven. They are a solution for each other. Now, I really don't know much about blockchain, but one guy who's very good, I respect a lot, started giving me a lecture how IoT security can be solved by blockchain. So I spent the time. Normally, within 1 minute, I will shoot off a stupid idea, but I didn't know about blockchain. So half an hour later, I said, okay, let me see if I get it. So you have this thing called a block, which is 1 or 10 transactions. Currently, it's about a megabyte in size, so it may be 100 transactions for IoT, but that's okay. That can be configured. Then many people, 40 nodes, 50 nodes, could create a new block. They hash it, they sign it, and then they have to agree. So if you're querying whether this thing is true or not, these 30, 40 have to vote on it and they agree. So this whole process of taking a transaction, hashing it, then agreeing, mutual consensus, I don't think it's happening in milliseconds. It will probably be a minute. And if a few nodes don't agree, it will take more than a minute. Now, an IoT device sends this transaction message. It's 40 bytes. It sends it and then it waits. And it waits. And it waits. And by the way, do you know there is a 1% duty cycle on IoT devices? So if I wait for 1 minute, if my radio is on for 1 minute, 99 minutes I have to be silent. I don't think you can use blockchain in that manner in IoT. It has to be redone. It has to be rethink. So this is the nature of the discussion we want. And we have the directory and other resources, and we have the IoT Wiki. IoT Wiki is about knowledge which you don't know, you need to know. So if you go to Paris and you have no clue of French, you don't know about Paris, you will be lost. You need some guide. You need a map. So that is what the IoT Wiki will do. We are starting off with these following interest groups, and over time we will evolve. The community will decide. Agri-tech historically we had, but I think there is a lot of activity going on in energy surveillance, so maybe we will expand to different business verticals. We have the IoT stack, which is about engineering issues, and the IoT security is a special group. Startup is about business model, use cases, strategy, etc. So the idea is the techie folks will be in IoT stack, and they don't have to worry about this oozy-foozy business strategy, and the business guys can be in the strategy, startup, business case, and they don't have to get swamped by technical details. If you're an agriculturist, you can join agri-tech, you can join startup, you can join general. And if you are a radio engineer, you can join IoT startup and stack and IoT security in general. So you could start up from where you want and just go ahead. We have specialized task force, which is by invitation only, fresh thinking, which is around security, and M2M regulation, which is we discussed about India first regulation. And we would request you to tell friends and folks who have capabilities in security and M2M regulation to come and join us and come back to us. Finally, it's about enduring insight. When you go to a new domain, so if you go to marketing, you better go and read Marshall McLuhan, Medium is the Message, and about advertising. If you are in business strategy, Potter on and the Five Forces and all those things, they're classic, doesn't matter if they're 10 years old. Similarly in IoT, design for manufacturability, antenna gate is a classic. I mean, Apple, with all its engineering charm, messed up when the antenna in the final case was not good. And this happens to a lot of startups. It works in a lab, but the moment it goes into a case, it stops working. Antenna gate is alive. So these are enduring issues which you need to know. So a lot of time you will hear about standards and all that. So please read up IoT interoperability. This argues how smart cities can have interoperability without standards. Standards at the current state of technology and business model IoT are a kiss of death. We want to educate policymakers, try and everyone else, back off the standard horse, think about how to enable consumers to get benefits fast, and collaboration and other ways of doing it. We have done this piece, this map of icons of startups, which has been enormously popular, and I would request those who haven't seen it, go at our blogs and read it. Som and Venki and myself did it as the co-chairs of IoT Next. We covered the 420 startups that were there at the end of 2016. And this has been very, very popular. But it also has been a lot of problem for me. So I have a lot of startups who tell me, Arvind, you are partial to that startup. You are not shown my icon there. And guys, can't show 420 icons. It's our dharma to help you, but I really can't show 420 icons. Now it's 900, no chance. So we have to figure out a different way of doing it. And we are. So emerging tech, we are doing something special in this award. So we are here to help. Coming towards the end of the map that we wanted to lay out. If you land in Paris, you don't know French, and you have no idea about Paris, you will spend a lot of time wasted. That's what happens to startups. They spend 18 to 24 months figuring out connectivity is hard, figuring out power matters, figuring out that there's a difference between a PCB which works open board and which goes into a case. These are all classics, DFM, etc. So we want to develop a map, which is as a map, we tell you that Paris has an Eiffel Tower, it has a museum, Louvre, it has this river, and it also has that funny place, the Cabaret. And Lido is the old one, and there are some newer ones. So at least once you know that, you can do much better job of figuring out Paris. So we have this category tree, which helps you see the different types of things that you may want to know. And this is open source, so anybody can edit. It's the wisdom of the crowd. It's the Wikipedia model. Please feel free. And to give you an example, because IoT is full of hype, you will see Cisco's and Gartners. They don't have any monopoly on defining things, and anyway, they use very long, abstract words which I can't understand. And for God's sake, I am from IIT Kanpur, I am Ahmedabad, and I am a National Times scholar. So it is all obfuscation, just trying to fool you. So you need clear, precise, operational definition. So what is fog computing? Here is an example. We've defined these terms. So you have a device, you have an IoT network, which is between the device and the gateway. And the IoT network is around 200 different protocols, most of them non-IP like Bluetooth. Then you have on-premise software, long-haul internet, IoT platform on the cloud, cloud application. So these can be all internet. Typically, it could be MQTT or a RESTful API. Now, a device which does everything on its own, an autonomous drone, etc., it's endpoint computing. Edge is when you just talk to a gateway and you get done. V2V, V2I, vehicle to vehicle, surveillance, this is necessary. Traditional IoT is you talk to a cloud which converts your BLE to IP, TCP IP, goes to a cloud application, comes back. But most people are discovering this is not where it's either edge or it's fog. And fog is about multiple compute devices. So it is more than one gateway, more than one on-premise application, etc. collaborating. That's why it's fog, and there is a fog foundation, and it's typically used for surveillance, malware detection, and all that. So this is an operational definition of IoT. Similarly, we define what is IoT, and that is important for regulation, because the legal definition of IoT is very difficult to get. And if you take the TRI's definition of IoT, all cloud providers are also IoT guys. You are in trouble, boys. You have to get licensed. So this is the way we want you to come in and help. To summarize, we have to raise the IoT quotient of India. It's an interesting journey. We have a very large base, 30,000 people on Facebook, some 3,000 people in different hardware labs, around 900 startups. The momentum is on. Spread the word, curate the news, ask questions, engage, contribute, and make it happen.